we'll talk about application of LLM in for data analytics. And of course, we'll have some hands-on, as I said. Okay, so let's move on. But before we move on, right, I wanted to talk about the importance of data. Okay, in today's world, if you talk about, right, if you talk about, let's say, largest retailer, right, or largest bookseller, okay, it is Amazon. Now, if you talk about largest taxi company, right, it is Uber in the world, right? And if you talk about largest chain of hotel, Airbnb has the largest chain of hotel. And if you talk about largest restaurant chain, it's Swiggy, isn't it? Now, if you look at each of these companies, they don't own any physical products. So when I say bookseller or retailer, they don't even have a single retail store. You talk about Uber as the largest taxi company, they don't even own even a taxi, right? They don't even have even one single taxi across the world. So without owning the product that we traditionally know as a business, right? So when you say we're talking about taxis, so you expect them to have different types of cars available for rental, but they don't have. What they have is the data about the people who wants to get the service, like you and me. Let's say you want to order something. Okay, so they have the data about us. Swiggy has data about us. If we want to rent a car, Uber has data about us. We have to go to their platform, right? So they have our data. And they also have data about the providers, right? Service providers. So if anyone in the world, if they want to provide car rental service, they can join the platform. So as a company, Uber just have the data. They manage the data, and by managing data, they have become the world's biggest companies. And the traditional players, right? Traditional companies, they have been, setting up a physical store, physical restaurant, or buying cars. They are not anywhere close to these companies, isn't it? So that's the importance of data, right? And is data everything? Okay, so it is everything until unless, right, you actually make use of it, right? So if you might have a gold mine, right? Okay, you might be sitting on gold mine, but if you don't know how to dig through it, if you don't know how to mine that gold out, it doesn't serve any purpose. Okay, so the objective today here is, of course, talk about data a little bit, not spending much time because we all know about it, but we are talking about a method to dig through the data, right? That's what my objective for today's presentation is. Okay, I'm going to talk about how we can dig through this gold mine, or, this is definitely more expensive than gold. The data is more expensive than gold. So if you look at these terms, okay, I've tried to put different terms that we generally come across this domain. We talk about AI, ML, deep learning. Okay, so AI, okay, artificial intelligence. Now, if I ask you what is the most expensive thing in the world, of course, human intelligence, right? Our brain is the most expensive thing in the world. Now, if you can make artificial gold, you can make artificial diamond in the labs we develop them, right, isn't it? Okay, because they're expensive item. So why can't we develop artificial brain? And that's the whole purpose of AI. How can we make human brain in lab? Okay, and so that we can create a human like structure or human like robot, what we call them. They can act and behave like human being, right? So that's the whole purpose of AI, how to create artificial brain, artificial intelligence. Okay, and machine learning is a concept that helps these machines, okay, or these robots to learn, right? So it's a subset of AI. Now, for performing machine learning, okay, we need to develop various algorithms. So algorithms is the foundation for machines to be able to think and act, isn't it? So machine learning is basic set of algorithms. We have deep learning, which is more advanced set of algorithms. Now comes generative AI. So as the name suggests, we are saying generative. Generative means creation. Okay. So the AI, which is used to create new stuff, that's the meaning of generative AI. So when we talk about generative AI, we can create audio, video, music. Okay. If you see a lot of, I don't know, in Kerala, I think they have, come up with a movie which has songs of dead singer, right? The singer died maybe 6 years back or something, and they have come up with songs in his voice, and movie didn't do well, but songs are doing really well. So the point I'm trying to make here is that using AI, you can create any kind of content. You can create text, as I said, you can create new videos. Now, a lot of new videos are getting created based on generative AI. So, okay, so generative AI is the foundation for creating any new content. Okay, and this content is obviously based on the existing content, but they are totally new. Okay, it's not like taking the existing data and massaging it and creating another version of it. It's about creating totally new stuff. Okay, so that's generative AI. But if you focus on the text itself, okay, for today's discussion or for my session, I'm not going to talk about images or videos. I'll focus more on large language models, which the systems where they are able to understand what we want to do as a human being. Okay, be able to understand our language, okay, the English language, and then be able to create new content on that. Okay, so we'll see that. Now, the brain behind LLM, okay, and then many companies, right? Like OpenAI, of course, is the most popular one, but we have Microsoft, you have Google, you have Perplexity, right? These companies have also come up with their own LLM model. So we'll talk about the technology behind most of these LLM models. Not all, but of course, most of these LLM models. So definitely, we are going to talk about OpenAI today. So GPT, generative pre-trained transformers, are the brain behind OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so in few minutes from now, we'll talk about what transformers are and how they create new stuff. Okay, so what is chat? What is GPT? The version which is used currently is GPT-4. Okay, and the application that we're going to focus is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is one example of GPT, right? And you can have many companies developing it. Currently, the ChatGPT uses GPT-4. That's why you see GPT-4 here. But the whole technology, okay, as I said, it's a subset of your main big topic, AI. They have generative AI. And within generative AI, we are going to focus on LLM models or large language models today. So we'll talk about it in some time, okay, about LLM. But let's first understand different types of work that we can do on data. So I'm going to talk about a story. Okay, I'm going to talk about a story here that you see. Now, let's say this is a futuristic city. Okay, um, and let's say the mayor of the city, okay, wants to analyze data and make better decisions in terms of, um, let's say, traffic handling. Okay, we'll focus on traffic handling today. So what they did, they hired two people. Okay, let's say we have Ina and Meena. These are two people who have been hired by the office of mayor in the city, and they have been given special task. By the way, the content, the image that you see, the city image, and also the two ladies on the screen, they are developed by generative AI. So you have Ina and Meena, okay, and Ina is hired as a data analyst, and Meena has been hired as a data scientist. Okay, so what is the difference between Ina's role as well as Meena's role? Okay, when you work as a data analyst, what's your role, and when you work as data scientist, what's your role? Now, the topic that we talk about, right? All these AI stuff. Okay, these are obviously advanced topics, okay, but these are still based on the core concept that we've been doing for many years. So this is not something that we have developed new, okay. This is the topics that we talk about, okay. They are all being developed over multiple other topics, okay. So the logic or the algorithms that we talk about, okay, here are based on our statistics, right? And okay, and when you talk about statistics, you have two main types of statistics, right? I'm sure everybody must have done some form of statistics today, right? So if you look at statistics, you have descriptive statistics, where you use mean, median, mode to define or describe what just happened, right? What happened. So I want to know, what happened yesterday, or how did my business perform yesterday, right? So we generally use descriptive statistics. Now, when you talk about futuristic, okay, we use inferential statistics. As the name suggests, we are going to look at the past data and then infer, right? That's why it's called inferential, right? We're going to infer what would happen in future, right? So, okay, like, simple example would be like when we have these elections, right? So these TV channels, they would come up with exit poll, pre-poll, right? How do they perform exit poll or this analysis? Okay. Okay. Sometimes they get it right, but sometimes they don't get it right. That's okay, because when you talk about future, okay, there's always an element of uncertainty, right? If I ask you what are you going to do tomorrow, right? You might have some plans from morning till night what you're going to do, but still you remember, like, there will be some kind of uncertainty things that can happen in your life, and it will not go as per the plan, right? That's fine, right? That's fine. Okay. When you talk about future, we know we cannot get it right 100%, but still we plan, isn't it? Because planning is better than no planning. And we are trying to build some kind of certainty in the process. And that's the whole purpose of data science, okay? Trying to build some kind of certainty, okay? If you're able to predict with 90%, great. Even 70, 80% is not bad in some situation where it is very difficult to predict, isn't it? And when you talk about future, okay, you can't say things with certainty. So we use probability. So inferential statistics is based on probability, and our data science is also based on probability theory. So as a data analyst, Ina's job is to analyze data, look at the traffic patterns, and predict the trend. So, okay, her job will be to look at, at which road of the city at what time, okay, what kind of traffic comes. So maybe there's a particular road that is busy only in the morning, okay, let's say 9 to 11, and it is busy in the evening, let's say 6 to 8, probably because all the offices are located at one end of the city. So you see traffic flowing into that into that area for 9 to 11, and 6 to 8 traffic will come back from that area, right? That's what you analyze. Okay, that's what descriptive statistics will tell you. Now you're going to build the pattern, right? Now let's say a certain area which is getting developed, okay, and you see there are the builders coming up and developing, let's say, apartments in that area. So based on what you have figured out, you will know that, okay, in 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, this is what the situation of this area is going to be. Okay, because you have seen what happened in another area, now you are better planned. Probably you will plan the road better, right? Most of our cities in our country, okay, first what happens, first they develop all this infrastructure, and then we think about developing the road, right? So that's why we see some of the road getting constructed everywhere. But but if you are to have a better planned city, you have to analyze and then create the road before the people start moving in, right? That way the things become much smoother. So that's the role of INA. Okay, figure out which areas has problem and which areas we can develop at what time. Okay, so these data will be analyzed, and INA will be able to suggest to the mayor office. Talking about Meena, the data scientist, okay, it's more about suggesting the solution. A simple thing could be that in rainy season, what will happen, right? And let's say you are driving on a particular road, and there are, let's say, two different ways to reach your office. Okay, so you have one main road which you take every day, and there is second road which is probably not that nice, and you don't generally take because of whatever reason, right? It's not nice, or the road may be bad, or it may be narrow. But let's say there's a big traffic jam on the main road because of the rain, or something happened, there's an accident and road is jammed, right? So your system or some kind of information has to be sent on your phone saying, since you travel on daily on this road, today you cannot travel because, I mean, that road is totally jammed today. So why don't you take a alternate route? It recommends you the alternate route. Okay, so it's more about understanding what has happened and recommending you what to be done, right? So the recommendation part makes it more interesting. Okay, but as I said, today we'll focus on analyzing the data and finding those patterns. And maybe in the next step, we can talk about how to use that pattern to make futuristic decisions. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well when we take the data. And today's, in the today's session, I have selected data from retail, okay, where we will be actually, performing analysis, and we'll also talk a little bit about, okay, in what way the business can use that result to improve their, the overall performance of their business, right? So we'll do that as well. I hope it's clear, right? The purpose of data analysis, okay, which is more like understanding, and data science, where it is more like predicting, okay, what you should do, right? We'll spend, let's say, maybe 10 or 15 minutes on concept of generative AI, okay? And we will see how generative AI actually uses different concepts to create new content, okay? So let's get into that. So we are going to talk about three different techniques. Okay, we have variational autoencoders, and these are done, based on the time of usage. Okay, so variational autoencoders have been in use for quite some time. Okay, and then we have GANs, which are again called as generative adversarial networks. And then we will move on to transformers. Transformers are the idea behind LLMs. Okay, so LLMs are not based on VAEs or GANs. Okay, we'll talk about applications of the other two techniques also, but these are the three core techniques that generative AI uses. Okay, and I think when we get into details, you'll be able to understand the purpose of these and when and where we can use VAEs. Let's say you have a certain activity you want to perform, okay, certain activity for generating content, okay, based on your requirement, you will be able to understand should you be using VAEs or GANs or transformers. Okay, so I got a message that previous technique, previous session was on VAEs. Awesome. I'll just tell you a story probably, and then we'll move on from VAE. I'm not going to talk about VAEs and GANs. Okay, I'll just give you a story which will give you where VA is used, and we will skip the other slides. So let's say, okay, you come to a city, okay, and you like the city very much, right? And you like the building very much, right? It has it's beautifully designed. Now let's say you want to copy the same design and you want to build it similar building for yourself in your city, right? So what we need to do is, right, we capture, right, all the structure and things like that, right? Building could be like, say, 5 floors spread across maybe like 400 square yard, 500 square yard. It's a big building. We cannot take exact measurement, right? So what we do, we create a structure, right? Like architecture, right? We create architecture diagram where we mention all those things. Okay, and then you can take that design, give it to the designer, okay, and they will be able to construct that building based on the design that you copied, isn't it? So what we have done, okay, we have a big image, okay, big object, and we have been able to, okay, bring them down to a smaller object, right? And then when we go back to our home, we then project it again in bigger, right? So the entire information about the building is captured in a small piece of information, right? And then you extrapolate, right? So here, if you see, you have a two concept called encoder and decoder. Encoder is where you encode the entire big picture into a smaller device, and then, okay, you decode it back into the reconstructed image, what we call it. Okay, so the reconstructed image will be exactly similar to what you have in the beginning, right? But you can still improve, right? You can change the color. You can probably make it a little more bigger, smaller, right? So you can change little bit in terms of the view, right? But you won't be able to change much, right? Because the design is for something else. This is what happens in VAs, right? So when you have an old image, okay, and you want to improve the quality resolution of that image, you want to maybe do the color correction and things like that, you can use VAs. Okay, so if you see, the output image is more or less like input image with some improvement. Okay, so that's the purpose of VAs. As you have already gone through it, I'm not going to talk about it. The next session, GAN, I think you have it scheduled for tomorrow, right? So you can again, go through GAN in detail later. But just to give you an idea about GAN, okay, so here you have two different players, okay? So you have one generator and one discriminator, okay? So generator's job is to generate a new content, and discriminator's job is to find problem with the generator, okay, and pass only the images or the content, okay, because we're talking about generative AI, right? So pass only content which is more which is more acceptable, okay. So let's say we'll play a game here. Okay. So let's say, you are part of a police department, right? Let's say you're part of a police department and you want to um, find out, okay, how people are, let's say, faking the currencies, right? Okay. So let's say, you want to train your police department. Let's say you come up with a different department within your police department where they're responsible for tracking of fake currencies. Now, okay, now these people, you have hired them, great, you put them in the department, but they would not know, right, how currencies can be faked. Okay, they need to get training on it. So what they do is, let's say you have, let's say in a city, you have someone who's able to duplicate things very nicely, right? So, okay, so you call that person, you say, okay, that's, the discriminator, you said, okay, since you can create very good design, exact replica of the stuff, why don't you try to create exact replica of currencies, and we will learn how to differentiate, because when this person brings the currencies, right, they'll be duplicate, so it's a duplicate, but you will learn to figure out the mistakes between them, how is that different, right? So what happens? This person, okay, who is going to create a new data, okay, supposed to be the generator, will create a new design for you, okay, and create a new, say, currency, and get it to get it near to you. So you get the currency, okay, and so you try to figure out the difference. So initially, what happens? It'll be easy, right? You'll say, okay, see, the original one, there is three lines, you have only two lines, or maybe the third line is not that clear. So you'll be able to you can easily differentiate, okay? So as a police, you are playing the role of discriminator. Then again, so that's the input that you gave to the GAN, right? To the generator person, that, this is what I say. Okay. Now, generator will again take that content that is designed and will try to create a new content based on improved version of what he created first time. So this process goes on, okay, until there is, there is a situation where this discriminator will not be able to figure out the difference between the original one, the fake one. So what we are doing in that process is, as a discriminator, you are getting trained on how to distinguish, let's say, a fake image with a real image. Now, that's all. The purpose of this entire process is to make sure that discriminator is able to learn how to identify the fake stuff. And the reason for this is that when, okay, so like in if you think of a situation, right? So you have a generative network which generates an image or any content for that matter. We know we are talking image, but as I said, it can be done to create any kind of content. So you have a generative network which generates an image, and discriminative will be able to, will try to understand whether this is good quality or bad quality. If it is of bad quality, then it will not allow it to come out. Only if it is good quality, it is allowed to pass to the next level. Okay, so you have generative network, and good thing about here is that you will be able to get content from outside as well. Unlike in VAEs where you have no way to add new content to it, but GANs will be able to access new content, and the output of the original image or content, okay, will be a mix of outside content. So when we talk about like, when we said that, you can create a music in somebody else's voice, you have videos where somebody else is, like, you superimpose somebody else's video over existing video. So these are all GANs, and GANs are very, very dangerous in the sense, you can create an entire movie. You're taking some person as an example, okay, in movie, but just taking an image of it. So you can only give an image as input to GAN, and GAN will be able to create an entire new movie. Okay, so GANs becomes very powerful, and that's what when you talk about deep fake and things like that. GAN is the technology or the algorithm behind all these deep fakes. Okay. Yeah, again, I'm not going to talk much about GANs. I think you'll have a session about it tomorrow. So now we'll move on to transformer. So as I said, transformer is the logic. Transformer is the key behind LLM. Okay. So we will little bit spend some time on trying to understand what transformer is. So transformer, okay, because the name suggests, it takes input and it transforms into totally new input. Okay, so if I say, okay, can you write an essay on on India's economic, the situation today, right? So you pass this 6 line of code, and these LLMs, right, chat GPTs, or the Copilot you have, or the Gemini or Perplexity, right? So these will be able to take those few words and be able to create an entirely new content. How's that possible? Okay. So as I said, mathematics is the idea behind all of these, right? Now, how can we give, okay, a text as input to a mathematical model, right? When we talk about mathematics, we talk in terms of numbers, isn't it? So these text data has to be first converted into numbers, right? Okay. And once you have these numbers ready, okay, they enter through a transformer, and these transformers will have the data from internet, right? All the text data which is available from internet. Okay. And then based on the question that you have, it will give an output. So simple example is, let's say if I have to translate, okay, something like, say, I am talking. I want to translate I am talking into Hindi, let's say, right? So I am talking will go as input to these models. First, it will be converted into some kind of a numeric format. Okay. And then it has to go and fetch into the entire database that you have, and it will figure out, okay, the I is similar to my. Okay. I am talking is मैं बात कर रहा हूं, let's say. Okay, so you end up creating those words. Now, okay, so you can convert this into 4 different words, but again, the context also becomes important, isn't it? Okay, so here, okay, the model will be able to understand the input as well as the context. Okay, like should it be बात कर रहा हूं या मैं बात कर रहा हूं, बात मैं कर रहा हूं, right? So all these things will be checked by the transformer models. Based on that, you will be able to generate new content. So that's the whole purpose of transformers. Okay, so as I said, we're going to talk about LLM today. So here you see, okay, so here you have an input, okay, given as English. What are you doing? It goes to the encoder. Encoder will figure out the context, will figure out the different words, and then it converts into different decoder form, right? And the decoder will, again, so the exact same process that happens in encoder, decoder will also have similar process, and then it will give you the output here. Okay. So using same concept, we'll be able to create new content. So that's the, in short, what VAEs are supposed to do. And when we talk about prompt engineering, that's the main role that we have for, for in LLM. So with this input, okay, I want to take you into hands-on session for next few minutes. We'll talk about how to perform, okay, analytics. Okay, so you should be able to see my GitHub link. So it's called GitHub/Swapnil Saurav/machine learning. And there are many data set here. We will use, let's say, retail sales data. Okay, so you have retail sales data, okay, which I uploaded today for this session. Okay, so you can download this. Okay, so you can click on this. When you click on it, okay, you'll be able to see this download raw file version. You can click on it and you can actually download it. Okay, um, you can download it, or for today's session, what I'll do is I will directly read from GitHub. Okay, so if you don't want to download it, you don't have to. You can still directly use this from GitHub location itself. So I'll click on raw file. When you click on raw, you will get this raw file. Okay, so where you see only content is there. Okay, all the other design, all those things is lost. Okay, we just want the raw data, isn't it? So I can copy this link and then I will move to my PyCharm. Okay, so let's say this is my PyCharm screen, right? So I'm going to add this link here. Okay, I'm going to read the content from this link. So let me just copy the GitHub link. Now, I'll just show you how ChatGPT works, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about it and then we will see how we can actually use the same stuff for our program as well. So again, I'll go back here and okay, so see, this is the retail data set, right? It's a sales data. Here you have transaction ID, date, okay, customer ID, gender, age, the product category, okay, quantity, okay, how many each of those quantity they have bought. You have price per unit and total amount, right? So total amount, if you see, it will be multiplication of quantity and price, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Okay, I'll say OpenAI account or something. That would be, I think that, yeah. I'll just stay with OpenAI only. Okay, I'll not be going to other platform. Okay, so here you see you have two options. Okay, you have ChatGPT option and API option. ChatGPT is what will look like this. Okay, now this is good to practice, right? I want to practice and you want to see how GPT or ChatGPT responds. This is great tool. But if you want to do some programming, you want to build automation, you want to put it in some program, you want to build your own application, right? So the next big thing that is happening in IT field in terms of setting up, creating new businesses is to build businesses based on these LLM models, right? So you have a company, they have created story writing based on OpenAI ChatGPT, right? You can create your own stories as well, right? You can create your own presentations. You can create your research paper, okay, using OpenAI, right? So if you want to use it for automation, we need to use API. And okay, so we will learn how to use API. But if you click on ChatGPT, this is what you get, right? So now let's say I want to upload the same file, okay, and ask few questions to ChatGPT. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say upload from my computer. You can upload from Google Drive as well, Microsoft OneDrive as well. But I have it on my local machine, so I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say I have it in data sets. It's in retail. And let's say retail sales data. Okay. So I have uploaded my CSV file with the entire content. Okay. Now I'm going to ask questions to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, can you explain? Let's say I don't know the data, right? So can you explain me the data in the attached file? Now you see, I'm not writing any code, right? That's what we say LLM, right? It is able to understand English text, okay? And then I hit enter, or you can click on this arrow button. So it has created this, okay? It has read it and it's not creating the new content, right? So this is generative AI, okay? This is creating a new content. So it says dataset appears to be a retail sales dataset with the following columns: transaction ID, date, customer ID, gender, age, right? Okay, so it has understood the data for us. Now I can say here, can you calculate total sales for the year 2023? Let's see if it's able to figure out the date and calculate the sales for us or not. You see, total sales for the year 2023 amount to 4,54,000. Okay, it says, okay, let me know if you would like a breakdown of these sales, right? So if you want it to break it down by category or by customer age, let's say I click on product category. So it's going to break this data in by product category now for me, right? So it says, okay, so there are three product category, okay, electronics, clothing, and beauty, and these are the sales. You want to plot sales trend over the year? Okay, so I say yes. Okay, so now you see here, it's not only can calculate the table and perform all those mathematical operations, but it can even plot the graph for you. Okay, it has performed the graph for you. Now, if you want to identify top customers by spending, okay, you click on it. Okay, it will even calculate who are the top customers in terms of spending, how much sales they have spent. So you have customer ID 487. Okay, they have spent over 2,000. Customer 416 also have spent 2,000. If you want it by gender, it will differentiate it based on male and female, right? You can see the female has done more shopping than male. Okay, so you can keep on asking questions and it will create graphs, it can give you answers, everything. Okay, you without knowing how to perform coding, right? So this is the job of prompt engineering. Okay, the prompt engineers, you need to know how to frame these text, right? So the text that we give, they're called prompt, and the answer that we get from LLM models are called as response. So what you see here is response. You can download it. Okay, you can even ask it to create a Python program. So I can say, can you show the Python code to plot this graph? Okay, so this is a Python code, and if you have a Python editor, you can plot graph also. Okay, and you don't have to build the code from scratch. Okay, so I hope it's clear. But yes, if you are building your applications, if you are automating it, then this is not the way to do it, isn't it? So we will now move on to my PyCharm screen. I use PyCharm for doing Python coding. So I'll come back here. Okay, no, before that, I want to show you the API. Okay, now API, we are not supposed to show it in public domain. So I cannot show the API, but I'll show you how it looks like. Okay. So if when you log into OpenAI, so it's platform.openai.com, as I said, you have two options, right? ChatGPT option is what I just showed you, and you have API option. So when you click on API option, okay, it will give you the code, right? It has various options. We'll not focus on all of them. We'll see what is important for us for today. Okay, so this is a sample code. Okay, Node.js is sample code on how to import OpenAI and use it to get response from OpenAI. Okay, so we'll build a similar program in some time. Okay, so this is dashboard, this is playground. Okay, okay, if I click on my profile, it'll open my profile. Okay, and so you have, okay, so this is where if you log in, okay, and this is where you can find your secret key. Okay, so user API keys, and see it is hidden. Okay, it can't be shown to public, so it's hidden. Okay, so I have the key, I have saved it in a file. So I'll be using this secret key to run my own applications. Okay, so okay, so this is how you can create an account. Okay, you can get your own API key. Okay, and you need to use that API key to develop the program which I'm going to show you in some time. So let's move on. Okay. So this is the data set which I'm going to use. Okay. The retail sales data and the open API key, right? Now I'm going to call this variable as I'm going to create a new variable, open API key. Okay. Now in your program, you can directly, you know, um, when you get those key API key, you can directly copy and paste it here. Okay. You can directly copy and paste it here. But as I said, I can't show you the code. So what I'll do is I'll just, okay, import. I have my own module here. You see, my open API.py. I'm going to say import my open API, and I have a variable there which has that value. Okay, it's a string variable, and I have my key there. So I'm going to simply import it from my OpenAI dot. So this is my OpenAI key, and this is something else. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so so what I've done, I have created my OpenAI key, and I have added it in that new file, okay, that my open API, and I'm borrowing it, right? When you are developing, just to hide the code from you all, okay? But if you want to use it in your program, you can directly say equal to, and you can give the code in quotation here, okay? You don't have to create a module and then import it. But yes, when you are doing some kind of demo, this is the way you should do it. Now we will build our LLM. We will create let's create a SQLite database. Okay. Now SQLite, okay, is a database. It's a relational database. Okay, it's RDBMS. Okay, which comes pre-installed with Python. So whenever you install Python, okay, SQLite database is already installed. Okay, now it has few limitations. Okay, limitation is that you can't connect to this database from any other machine. So if I have it on my machine, only I can connect to it, and you can't connect. Like, so if you install SQL Server or Oracle or MySQL, right, you can connect it from different machine. That's why we have concept of server and client. So you make a server, and then you can connect to it using client. But SQLite does not allow, okay, connection from any client, which might look like um, which might look like a challenge, okay, but SQLite is designed to be a single user database, okay, designed to be a single user database. So since nobody is allowed to connect to this database, it's secure, isn't it? Okay, that's the only security that it has. It does not have any username password. Okay, so you don't need username password to connect to it, since on your own machine, that way the database is secure. That's the only security that it has. Okay, so we'll be using SQLite database, but again, the code that we are going to use, you can use it for any database. Okay, that's not that this code is dependent on SQLite, but you can use any RDBMS data. So I'm going to use SQLite database. Okay, so let's look at the library that we're going to import. Okay, so first I'm going to import SQLite. Okay, this is SQLite 3. We will import pandas. Now import pandas. Okay, for reading the data. Okay, so we will read the CSV file and import it like a data frame. So you need pandas to read the data. We will need import OpenAI, okay, because we will be connecting it with OpenAI, right? So I need to use OpenAI. In fact, okay, we may not need it. I think I'll plan to connect using LangChain. Okay, so let me connect to LangChain. Okay, so I'm going to say import LangChain dot chat models. Okay, so we are going to build a chat, right, which will connect to the CSV file and get the data, for us. And here what I'm thinking is also create the SQL query, right? So let's say before, when we didn't had chat GPT concept, or you don't had access to LLM. Even now, let's say if database is given to you, data is given to you, right? And you have to build these queries, like what is the total sales, or what is the sales by gender, things like that. You have to create your own SQL query and fire it on the database to get it, right? So, okay, we will also see, okay, we will also print the query that is, created to get the data. Okay. So we'll use LangChain. So chat models, and I can say here, okay, so here I'm not going to say import, let me say from LangChain, okay, import, okay, chat OpenAI. So chat OpenAI will help us to connect to the to the OpenAI. Okay, so we will get the open capability. Now, okay, what is the capability of LLMs? Okay, what we said, right? LLMs are used for working with data, right? So the main, okay, main usage, okay, of LLM is, okay, to, okay, create a proper prompt, okay, the message that we're going to send it to the to the database or where we want to connect, and then get the data and summarize it in a proper manner, okay, summarize it in a proper manner to to give the result or the response. Okay, so see, ChatGPT is not going to get you the answer. ChatGPT has to connect either to the internet, or to your own database, okay, or to our SQLite database. So information can be got from multiple sources. So when you connect to ChatGPT, okay, on the screen, okay, and when you don't upload the data and directly you ask question, right? I could have asked direct question, like, let's say, who's who is Chief Minister of Maharashtra, let's say, for example. So if I type that question, okay, it's going to fetch the data from the internet data until which it is trained on, right? So it could be 1 year old or 6 months old data. It will fetch and give you the data. So in that case, since we have not given our own data, okay, it went to the internet, okay, got that result and presented it. So the capability of LLM model is in terms of understanding your input prompt and framing the exact output. Okay, that's the only strength. Okay, strength is not reading the data, because you can read data using Google search also. So what we're doing here in this example is, instead of making ChatGPT connect to internet to get the result, we will make it connect to the SQLite to get the result. That's all. Okay, so the core capability of LLM, I said, is to frame the prompt and get you the response in a proper, nice format. Okay. The result could be in your own database, could be on internet, could be anywhere, right? It could be in PDF. We could have even uploaded a PDF, and it can read through PDF and give us the answer. Okay. Okay. So we have everything ready. Okay. So maybe I can talk about the way, okay, the framework works. Okay. So just allow me some time. I didn't put it in the PPT, but I can put it here. So let's say you have user, right? So what user gives is prompt, right? I'll say, okay, ChatGPT, tell me who's the which category has the highest sales, right? So you need to have this LLM model to understand the prompt, right? What prompt you give, right? It has to understand. So this is how our brain also works, right? If somebody tells us, okay, what's your name? So our brain hears it and then processes it and says, okay, I need to tell my name, right? And then you say, okay, my name is, right? So when user gives prompt, okay, you have OpenAI, okay, that generates, let's say, Python code, okay, to, okay, to get the result. But again, the Python code will be handled by what we call as Python agent. Okay, and this Python agent has to get the data, okay, from data store, right? We represent it as general data store, but in our case, okay, get the data from data store. Okay, in this case, it is SQLite. Okay, and then once the result is got, okay, OpenAI again comes into picture. OpenAI, okay, frames the output. The framing of output is again the role of OpenAI. And then you get a response. Okay, so this is what we are going to build now. Okay, so OpenAI will help us to perform this as well as this. Okay, we still need, okay, a module. Okay, so we have LangChain module, which will give us this Python agent or SQLite database capability to get the data. So I'm going to call this as, let's say, a retail data frame. Okay, I'm going to call this a retail data frame equal to pandas pd dot read CSV file. Okay, so ours is just CSV file. So we're reading CSV file. If it's Excel, you read it as Excel, right? So you can, using pandas, you can read almost any type of file as a data frame. So I'm going to read CSV file for now. Okay, and the file is in the link, isn't it? Done. The next option is to create that object, okay, the LLM object. Okay, so I'm going to say initiate the LLM model. Okay, so how do you initiate the LLM model? Using, okay, LangChain OpenAI. Okay, so Monish wants me to talk fast. Okay, let me see. So LLM equal to, you have chat OpenAI, and here we need to give two things. Okay, first, the OpenAI key, right? So I'm going to say OpenAI, okay, API key. Okay, so the key, we have stored it in this variable, isn't it? Where is the variable? Yeah. So I'll copy and paste it here. And then I need to call the model name. Okay, so I'm going to say model name. Now, model, there are many model, okay, that we have seen there, right? So I'll be using the older model, not the 4. I'll use GPT, let's say 3.5, okay, and Turbo. So Turbo is more advanced, okay, and I'm going to use 11.06 version of it. Okay. If you want to see the data set, let's print the data set to see if the data set has been read perfectly or not. Okay, so while it is fetching the data and printing the data set for us, okay, perfect. So this is the data, right? So you have ID, date, okay, you have the columns here. Okay, now we will connect to SQLite, okay, because we need to build the data, right? We need to get the data into the database, SQLite database. So I'm going to create, I'll call this as, let's say, customer database, okay? Customer DB, let's say. So I'm going to say SQLite, SQLite connection, okay? So this is an object of SQLite. Okay, so SQLite 3 dot connect, okay? And then you give the database name. We just need to give database name, okay? We don't have to give, let's say I give customer.db. You don't need username, password, or you don't have to give the machine name, because the SQLite database will be on the same machine and there is no username, password, okay? So directly with database name, it can connect. Now you don't have to create a database like most of the other RDBMS. You need to create database using create database command, isn't it? But in SQLite, we don't create, because because when you try to connect to the SQLite database, if the database is already there, it'll connect. If it is not there, it'll create. Okay, so it creates automatically. So you don't have to worry about creating it. Now let's push, okay, the data frame that we have, retail df into, okay, into this DB, okay, table, and we'll call this, let's say, retail sales table, okay. So to do that, okay, I'm going to say retail df dot to SQL, okay. So it has to SQL, and it'll push into the SQL, okay, simple. And I call this as, let's say, retail sales table, right? So retail sales, let's say, table. Okay. And I'm going to say connection name. Okay. So this connection name that we created, you give it. So that's how it knows where is the database. Okay. And I'm going to say if exists equal to replace. Okay. So if the table exists, then we'll replace it. Perfect. So the basic setup is done. Okay, we have created SQLite database. We have connected. We've got the data from internet. We have created our. Internet means we have got data from our GitHub. We have used ChatGPT API to start building this application. Right now, we need to perform actual pulling the data. Right. So here I'm going to import libraries for that. I'm going to use LangChain again. So I'm going to say from LangChain, okay, dot agents, okay, and I'm going to say import, okay. First thing that we need is create SQL agent. Okay, so this SQL agent will help us to create agent which will take our LLM query. Okay, then OpenAI will convert our query into SQL format and give it to SQL agent. SQL agent will get the data and give it to the model. So SQL agent will understand only the SQL query, but LLM will convert our text, whatever English text that we give, will convert into the SQL command using SQL agent. Okay, then we also need from langchain dot agents, okay, dot agents toolkit we have. Now this toolkits, okay, we will be using SQL database toolkit. Okay, this is required whenever you are dealing with database. Okay, so it will create different versions, different applications to connect to SQL database. We will also need agent type. So langchain dot agents dot agent types. So based on this agent type, we will decide. Okay, it decides, okay, which one to call for. All right. So we'll develop. I think anything else is required. I think we didn't use SQL database. Okay, yeah. So from langchain dot SQL database import SQL database. Okay, so okay, this is to indicate that we are connecting to the SQL database. Okay, any RDBMS database, you need to use SQL database. Okay, irrespective whether it is SQLite or Oracle or anything. Okay, we'll be using this. Awesome. So I think we have everything ready, okay, which we need. Okay, if there's any problem, okay, we will come back and add more libraries, but I don't think we need. So now I'm going to create something called as my DB, okay, and this is where my data will be stored. So now I'm going to call SQL database, and I'm going to say from URI, okay. We're going to form our query into this database, okay. And here you need to indicate which database it has to connect. Okay, so I want to connect to SQLite. Okay, not kite, SQLite. Okay, SQLite colon. Okay, the forward slash and custom. Okay, let me directly copy from here. Okay, so connection to database will be established here. Now we will create SQL agent. Okay, create SQL agent, or we say SQL agent executor. Okay, executor. Okay, with required, I call it that, let's say parameters. Okay, let's build this. So I'm going to say agent. Okay, agent executor equal to create SQL agent. And here we need parameters. So we need parameters like, okay, we are going to connect to LLM model, right? So it needs LLM object. It needs database name. So DB equal to, database name is my DB, right? That's okay. So DB name. And then agent type. Okay, since we are going to use Open AI, correct? So agent type that we'll have to use here is called Open AI hyphen tools. Okay, and do we give like English text? Yes, very likely we are going to give English text. So I'm going to say verbose equal to true. Okay, so we're saying that, okay, I'm going to give in verbose like text. Okay, that's the prompt that I'm going to give. It has to understand the prompt and form the query. Okay, so we are done. That's it. Okay. Now we can start, okay, accessing the data. Okay. Um, do we have any error? No. Okay, no error. Okay, so there could be some libraries, okay, which may be deprecated, but that's okay. We can still use it. Okay, exit code 0 means absolutely no problem with our database, okay, or with our code, okay. So the code is working fine. So let's send our first verbose, okay. We'll call this text as, let's say, user prompt. So user prompt equal to, okay, what is the average sales per month? What is the average sales per month? Okay, this is what I want to know. Okay, so you go and say agent executor, right? And in agent executor, you pass this prompt that we created. So user prompt. Okay, let's run it and see the output. The output is going to be very interesting, right? We have used agent executor for the exact same purpose. Now see here, this is where the agent executor is starting. Okay, and it's invoking SQL DB list. Okay, this is the table that it has. Okay, so you have create table and you have, okay, here now this is the data that it has got from the database. Okay, but we don't have to worry about all these things. Okay, this is the answer that we got. So this is the numerical value that you got. So I said, okay, the data will come from the SQLite, right? So data is 456. So this is the output from the database. But the output that you will see, okay, is designed by your LLM model, right? So average sales per month is $456. See, this is the answer. Okay. Now you want to form, let's copy and the exact same text that I put it, I gave it to the chat GPT earlier. So I'll go back the chat GPT and I'm going to copy. Let me copy the exact text that I gave. I say, can you explain me the data? Okay. Can you calculate total sales for the year, right? So let me say, so I've copied and I'm going to paste it here, let's say. You can even see the SQL query that it has built. Okay, so our normal English text, okay, is getting converted into SQL format. SQL is run on SQLite database. Result is got. that result is then converted into the final output, which is displayed onto the screen. Okay, so it says, okay, it's running here, right? Is it done? No, it's still running. So first it was trying to find total sales directly. It did not find. Then it knows that, okay, I have to, I have to calculate it, right? So now it calculated and gave us the result. Okay. So this is the output from ChatGPT. Um, let's um, let's do one more, okay, and then we will see how we can create a template. Okay, so let's. Okay, I think we have one for category, right? I'm going to pick the one for category. Break down sales by product category. Okay, so let me do that. So this is average sales per month. Okay, still it's running. Okay. Okay, you can, okay, just about creating the right prompt. If you create the right prompt, you can do that. Now you see, the question was break down sales by product category, right? So this is the data from the database. Okay, this is not from some internet, right? This is not a general information. This is from the CSV file that we read. So the output that we got is beauty amount, clothing amount, electronics amount. And this is the output of LLM. The total sales broken down. Okay, when you run it, okay, the text might differ. It may not be exactly same text because every time it creates a new text. But this will be same, right? Because this is coming from the database. So this value will not change. The text that is created here, that is generated here, can change. Okay. So let's move on to the last part. Okay. I'm going to create prompt templates now. Okay, so the prompt templates, okay, we will take, we'll see the way we actually, um, so we'd have to give only the core topic, core information, and we will have something to add before and after, right? So we'll build a template. Okay, we'll build a template for creating prompts. We don't have to give entire text the way we have been giving here. Okay, so let's see this. Okay, so every time you run, this background information will be pre-given to the model. That's what we say prompt templates. You don't have to give, okay, look at the data set, give me the result. Okay, so let's see. We'll say here, create prompt templates. Okay. Okay. So for this, we will call prompt, the prompt. So I'm going to say from LangChain core. It is in LangChain core. Okay. Dot prompts. Okay. I'm going to say import prompt template. Okay. So we'll build the template. So let's create the template here. Template and equal to your prompt template. Okay. This is the class and we'll pass the values here. So first we'll give the input variable. So you have input variables. Okay. So input variables needs actually two, okay, equal to, it needs two values. Okay. First, we will give the inquiry user inquiry and then background info. Okay. So background info will remain same, which is about the data, and user inquiry will change, right? So that's what the template is. Okay. So now I'm going to say template. Okay. It's a variable. So template is going to be the background info followed by question. So I'm going to give something like this. I'm going to say replace here the background info. Background info. Okay, I'll copy and paste here. So background info is given once. You don't type the background info again and again, right? Background info will be given once. Okay, followed by, let's say, space, or we can even give it in next line. Okay. So let's say I give it in next line. And here I'm going to say question. So this will be added as it is, followed by user query. Okay. So user inquiry is what we will be changing every time. Okay. Okay. Done. So this is the template. Now we will create the background info. Okay. So background info equal to, and you can give your text here. Okay. So as I said, background info can be anything. Okay. Which is very specific to the analysis that you're doing. So I can say here, my role is okay, or maybe I can say I am a data analyst and I am tasked to okay, analyze the the transactions pattern of the customers. Okay. Um, the data is stored in the table name that we have, right? So the table name is retail sales table. Data is stored in, okay, retail sales table. Data is stored in retail sales table, which is, say, crucial for my analysis. Okay. Okay. So let's put it here, and then I'm going to give a query. User inquiry, right? Okay. I'll say, what age, okay, age group is buying most? Okay. What age group is buying most? Okay. So we have age as well, right? So I'm going to ask it. Now to run it, okay, you need user executor, right? But user executor has to, right? So, okay, has to, okay, agent executor has to form the template, not, sorry, okay, not directly the user inquiry, but it has to form, right? So form what? The template. So I'm going to say here dot run. Okay, run, and then here you say template dot format. Okay, I'm saying create this template format. Template dot format, and you say background info. Background info is background info equal to background info. And then the user inquiry, right? So it needs two things. So one is your background info, and then user inquiry is user inquiry. Okay, that should be it. Let's run it and see the output. Okay, now what I want to do is, okay, one last step. Okay, right now it is going to fetch the age based on the given, but let's say you want to create your own grouping of the age, right? So you can give that as a input here, okay, in background info. So I'm going to, okay, change this background info while it is executing it for analysis. And I'll say here, okay, can you group the age into, okay, bins? Bins is the group, okay, bins of age ranges, okay, let's say age ranges, I call it as 21 to 25, okay, 26 to 30, 31 to 35, and okay, let me write so on, right? Why should I put all this information together? Okay, so you see here, okay, this is the value. For 64 age, you have 31 transactions. For 43, you have 31 transactions. For 57, you have 30 transactions. So it is giving us individual, right? Here, okay, so this is the data from database, as I said, and based on the output, it figured out which are the two or which age is buying most, right? So it says that, age 43 and 64, they have made 31 purchases. Okay, this is the output of LLM, right? Okay, English output. Now we have added this extra information. We wanted to convert this into ranges, okay, and then give us the answer. So I'm going to run it again and see how the answers differ. Okay, oh sorry, I made this mistake here, right? But I think LLM should be able to understand that it's a mistake. Okay, still it should give us the result. Okay, so I think this is what I had for today. Any questions you have, please let me know. Was it useful? Did you find it useful, everyone on the call? Thanks, Mirza Ali. Yes, Pallavi, we will share it. Okay, we will share the code. So, yeah. So, did it form the age group? Okay. So it says the age group that is buying the most is not immediately clear from the data. The query return counts for different age group. Okay, so maybe, okay, this was a problem. Let me try to change it again, 36 to 40. And I'll say, I'll add and so on. Let me run it again to see if this time it's able to understand. Yeah, so if you do not create a proper prompt, right, it will not be able to understand and we may not get the result that we expect. Okay, so hopefully this should make it more clear. Yeah, so I'm done with the session. I'm open for questions. Any questions you have? Anyone? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.